Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the central office area of the American School of Warsaw. I'm your host tonight, John Zurfluh, and welcome to Town Hall. It's great to be back in your midst after our October break and having a lot of things going on around school. Just a shout out to all of the people that are helping to make all those things happen, whether PTO staff or others. It's just brilliant as you walk around the facility and see all the different things that are happening. As a matter of orientation, as we usually do, just hopefully you're watching on one of our channels. We're out on Facebook through the ASW parent group. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. And you can also see our live feed on Twitter. If you're following me on Twitter, you'll see it there and can watch it there as well. But this is a wonderful opportunity for us to connect with community and come together. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, your comments will come forward to me and I can share them. Here's the first one that's up right now. A hello to our amazing ASW family. It won't show names. It'll just show either anonymous unless you're logged in or you've given Facebook permission. The names will not appear here when I share your comments. Feel free to use that channel for asking questions. And sometimes those questions will be answered in the chat stream by administrators and others who are also participating tonight. But feel free to reach out with questions and I'll keep my eye on that and bring them up as we go along. Also, we store the recordings of these after the fact, both on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So you can always go back and watch it after. Share it with friends, push it out to the broader community. In fact, here's your challenge tonight. Share it with 5 friends to watch the video after, those that haven't watched it with us here live tonight. And we always encourage that level of participation. Tonight, we're going to do kind of a shorter, well, not shorter necessarily, but a more comprehensive presentation of content. And the content is the strategic work underway here at the American School of Warsaw. We realized that we hadn't really had a chance to push out an update on all of the work that's going on. The work that Kay Labanka, our board chair, hinted at in her letter to you today and gave you lots of insight into the board's aspect relative to this work. But this is ongoing strategic work year on year that's been in place for roughly the last 24 to 36 months since our refresh of core values, mission, and vision. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And who better to help me out with that than my partner in crime here on the learning side. Please welcome Melissa Schaub. Melissa, good evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, ASW community. Great to be here. Always fun to be in Town Hall.
There you go. And you and I have got kind of a back and forth tonight because we're managing various aspects of this and overseeing it. So I'll just, without any delay, drop our presentation up on the screen so that we can get started. It's November 9th, 7 p.m. We're doing this tonight in order to make sure that we have kind of both a milestone and a waypoint in our strategic process that we can point people to. So when the videos are created from tonight, we're hopeful that we can use that as a placeholder for here's this captured moment in time and what we see as both the successes and the challenges and the ongoing plans that continue on the way we do strategic planning here at ASW. In particular, we want to do a quick shout out to Notosh. I'm just throwing this in here because Notosh has been our consultant since the early days, since the beginning of our core values. We're actually highlighted on their website. They've helped schools in 72 countries now, and we are actually highlighted on their site from our original work some years ago in the school and in the project nest and in coffees and gatherings throughout the school, and a team of 36 people that helped us define our core values and ultimately our mission, vision, and objective going forward. So a big shout out here right at the beginning to Notosh. You can find Notosh on LinkedIn and at notosh.com. They're a wonderful organization, and Ewan McIntosh, who is leader of that organization, is a longtime consultant for international schools throughout the world. So I'm really proud to be able to say that we've had this opportunity to work with Notosh and that we will continue to work with them on a consulting basis going forward. Let's see. We're going to go right to what they've helped us build. And so we have a core values, a mission, a vision, phrases like work together because without us all, we're nothing. Things that kids helped us inspire, that original group of 36, where it was 18 students and 18 adults covering all stakeholder groups, really helped us understand both what we thought described us as well as what we thought was aspirational for us as a school to continue growing and developing in these areas. I won't read the whole mission, but that first line says it all in terms of guiding a lot of our thinking, and that is that we are determined to be a community that changes the world for the better. And that can't be better articulated than through a lot of the activities that we've been involved in over the years, particularly most recently as we address COVID through our core values and through our mission, and now ASW for Ukraine and all of our efforts in support of Ukraine and PSI really emerged from that set of core values and that mission statement. We have a longer vision statement, and I only included the first 3 lines here that really had us creatively writing as a larger group about what we thought we wanted the school to become. If we got to where we wanted to get, what would it smell like, taste like, look like, feel like as you walk through the hallways and the divisions of the school? It's available on our website. You can take a look at that entire vision statement, or you can reach out to me and I can share it with you. But this idea of a collaborative school, of a place where lots of gatherings and groupings of people are taking place, is embedded in how we are architecting our strategic work. And it's found its most important home in the facility work that we're going to talk about tonight, because it really helped our architects to see what we wanted to achieve as we were developing our master facilities plan going forward. And we're going to talk about that in some depth tonight and share a lot of great work that's now coming to fruition after almost 24 months of work of various members of the community, all with their minds and hearts in the process.
Can I just jump in and say
Jump
one
in.
thing quickly?
Yeah.
Through the lens of both an educator and also a parent, the statements that ASW has really, really grabs attention, because for our kids, again, whether we're educators or for our parents, it's the big picture of what we want them to take away from school, from this place called school. And so being able to make the world a better place, to be problem solvers, to be able to be these problem finders and question posers, to be able to make very key decisions, all of that leads to their lives beyond. And it matters so much. So those statements that we use to guide our work truly are not only pertinent and relevant, but I think there's a magical touch to them, because it's really about sparking that human capacity to truly lead and to make a difference. So I just want to say that for all stakeholders, there's just a real sense of wonder about them and that buzz of excitement that our kids are going to be engaged in learning that is all about leading them there.
And that's powerful from 2 standpoints. One, that as a parent you can speak to that, but also as a new member of the community and how that's become apparent to you in the very early stage. And I failed to mention this at the beginning, but that's one of the powerful things of Melissa and I being here side by side, because Melissa brings that new objective eye to seeing the power of those things. As I know many of our new parents who are out here hopefully watching tonight or in the days ahead will recognize that they saw that in the early days of their acclimation to this new environment. And the deeper you dig, the more you find layers of that approach that's based on these kind of core statements and how we have really worked hard to try to understand it and make this experience for kids that reaches beyond the basics, the reading, writing, arithmetic that we used to talk about. Is certainly far more than that. The vision led us to, and this really articulates it in the broader sense, to an objective that kind of helps to guide our pathway. And ignore the date for the moment, although I think we're on this pathway to begin bringing some of those things to fruition. But the idea of everyone spending a majority, which we kind of define as 50% plus 1 minute, right? This idea of designing and managing within the context of school. It's an empowerment statement. It's an understanding of the design process, which I'm often talking about up in our design center, but really throughout the school in all of our subject matter, understanding that design cycle of researching, designing, trying it out, learning from it, and then come back through the circle again, which is at the essence the core of our strategic process. Our strategic project process is an agile process, one where we learn from things, we grow them, and we move on to the next iteration in very short order so that we're capitalizing on our understandings and our gains incrementally, step by step.
And the core of that is also really the student in the center of his or her own learning.
Mm-hmm.
That sense of what we're calling agency, that the learning belongs to our learners. And once upon a time, it belonged to the teacher. And the teacher just handed it over and said, okay, this is what you need to know. Now regurgitate that back to me, and I'm going to make a judgment about you. But we aren't there anymore. We are about kids in the middle and making key decisions about their own learning. And so that, for me, that is the heart of this objective. And it invites various shifts in how we engage in teaching and learning. And I think that's really going to sit at the heart of tonight's presentation in terms of our strategic work and how we share that out.
And it would be also it'd be inappropriate to characterize this as on your own, because when you have to take this in the context of our core values and understand that it's everyone, that's staff and students, and it's a collaborative exercise. It's not an exercise of autonomy or separateness, but it's a collaborative exercise where students are designing, they're negotiating for whether that design is sufficient, and they're working with teachers, and teachers are doing the same thing as they're designing instruction, and they're getting feedback from kids and negotiating with them how to make that instruction better and how to meet individual needs better. So it's a tremendous level of engagement that goes beyond individual autonomy. It really is the opposite of that. It's the epitome of collaboration and connection and engagement. There is a policy backdrop. I know these are very small letters on the screen, but you can refer to our board policy manual that talks about our strategic planning and the relatively annual cycle that we are on for planning work, presenting it to the board, getting authorization to move forward, and then reporting to the board on the results of those efforts and what we have accomplished. And we're going to go through some layers of that in alignment with this process and this policy, so you can see how we turn that process into action and into the things that we're talking about on a daily basis. The other thing is to understand the nature of strategic to operational. Some might say that this is just the normal work of schools, but in essence, we elevate some things to a strategic level that makes them more than operational. We take strategic work and ultimately turn it operational through a sequence of stages that includes study, design, implementation, and then ultimately an operational framework that makes it part of the fabric of the school. We have strategic areas that provide essentially the playground of strategic work. So we say these are the areas that through our process have emerged as having high priority. And we did this through sprints and research cycles that had almost all staff involved in some way. In one or more aspects of this strategic process. We also define some guiding boundaries that separates normal operational work, the ongoing work of continuing to get better at our craft, from the strategic work where we actually put a priority and a focus on it. We put additional resources into it. When we put some energy into growing it effectively and making it come to fruition. If the graphic were larger, you'd see research sprints with growing sprints, with implementation sprints, short time frameworks where we put effort and energy into bringing something to fruition.
And I think for our community, understanding that within school, we have all of our day-to-day work, and that to be true based on your own children and the teachers and what they are doing each day, how they're growing, learning, how they're engaging in a variety of processes to ensure that's happening. And we're really lucky as educators because the strategic work allows us to constantly be stretching ourselves and reaching for that which we're not doing, that which is based on the most up-to-date practices that ensure our kids are learning in the way that we feel is really going to lead them to success beyond our place and our time and space. So again, it's exciting that we've got these opportunities to grow as a school and to set that up kind of in that dream state, which then becomes something that is part of our day-to-day work as we implement.
Exactly. So what are our strategic areas? What are our aspirations? How do we pick the right projects in each of these strategic areas? How do we know what success feels like along the way, the regular and constant reflection? How we build on our strengths. Some strategic work is amplifying things that we're already doing, but making them reach to a higher level. And then how do we make it last? And that's the operationalization, is making it sustainable and making it stick within the fabric of the school. So there's that objective again. What's that clear vision? What's the objective? And then what are the key results that emerge from that? So for us as an organization, we have 4 strategic areas that through this process were identified. They're collectively group projects underneath them that we're going to go through in some detail, but they really give us a sense of what we established as priorities that were consistent with our mission, our vision, and our objective. What we thought were the key areas for us to spend that additional time, energy, and effort to focus our thinking and grow what we do. And so we have organizing time and space. We have this concept of being a learning lab, teaching school. We have our listen and engage, our inclusion initiatives that really expands our understanding and context of what diversity and equity looks like in the school. And then growing our use of data. It's not that we don't use data, but we want to grow our ability to use it to drive our inquiry into student learning. How do we better understand always the learning process and continue to refine it and design around it so that it meets the needs of learners more and more effectively with each iteration. And so we're committed to that as a methodology for understanding the learning process. Time and space is kind of, as you would imagine, a critical one. It understands that we need to look at time and space and create space so that it serves the educational process. We recognized early on that as a school, we are in a building, while it's a fabulous facility, is a 20-year-old facility. And we keep bumping into limitations within the context of the facility that are well known if you ask longtime constituents here. And those pinch points needed to be addressed. But we didn't just want to tweak the building and try to fix a few things. We really wanted to take on master facility planning and look forward to what we wanted to become as a school that was consistent with that, again, mission, core values, and what we were learning through the other strategic areas. So where we play here is we're going to rethink schedule and space so that we can amplify teachers playing the role of coach and mentor in the context of an objective that speaks to design and management and collaboration. So in 2021-22, just to give you a historical backdrop, when some of these projects came on the table, we were researching and setting up innovation institutes, schools within schools. We were looking at what was happening out there, things that allow students and faculty to spend that majority of their time managing what they do and designing how they do it. direct linkage to our objective in a very comprehensive way. We also know that collaborative spaces, both at the teacher and student level, is a critical component of that. And so the Align project was the massive undertaking of a facility master plan. For this year, we're carrying that master facilities plan forward. We're going to talk about that next. And we're going to move some things into prototype. And you're going to see some pictures of things that we have right now that we've already put in place so that we can assess and evaluate and potentially tweak our planning to make it even better. And then scheduling and those kinds of things that we've been dabbling in that for last year and this year. We're going to continue that work. And then student collaborative spaces that we've developed outside of the cafeteria near the PTO store are already in play as well. What's the hypothesis? Collaboration is applied inconsistently around the school, and more collaborative spaces will support this. Teacher collaboration and student collaboration leads to greater coherence in student learning outcomes. And so that assumption, that hypothesis, is what we're intending to prove through this extended work. So what does the site plan look like when you refresh a building on a 20-year renovation? Well, it looks something like this. And we're going to dig into the spaces a little bit in more detail, but you'll see kind of subtly through this lens some changes already as you're looking around. You might see the covered tennis courts over to the right. You might see the additional buildings on either side of our soccer field that are meant to support our outdoor areas and how we better utilize them. You're going to see a covered courtyard in there, and you're going to see an extension between two buildings that we're going to close to create some science facilities. You'll see lots of early childhood stuff that's being refreshed through this process. Changes even to our exterior and to our parking areas, things that we plan to do that really refresh the American School of Warsaw and prepare it for the next 20 to 30 years. So there's lots going on, and I'm going to take you through now the latest set of renderings that bring this site plan to fruition and give you a picture. Some of you saw the earlier renderings at the gala, and these have been refreshed and additionally refined now. And so we're giving you now the latest set of drawings that are part of the architectural work that has been ongoing. We now have building permits for those designs. And that's the key waypoint for us to make sure we insert tonight, is that those building permits are done and ready, and we're actually out in our process talking to contractors to build our bids. And final decisions on this plan going forward will come shortly in probably a January, February timeframe as the board considers this final work. But the board's been on board with this. I always use that term, the board's on board. But they've been watching this development closely. Finance committee has been reviewing it on a regular and rigorous basis. So here we go. Let's take a look at these. First is the diagram that kind of shows where some of the enhancements are at. They're colored. You can see a variety of things from a different viewpoint. But the one that comes first is the main entrance. We intend to push out the main entrance and create a new entrance area and central services area so that we can open up the core of the school for more student spaces. And so this would be the rendering of coming in from our front gate into the main entrance, more from the side, and then turning into a stairwell and an entry that takes you to both levels of the school inside. That looks a little bit like this. So when you come into the main entrance, you'll have a reception area, and you'll have a stairwell that will lead right up to the central core of the school, and under that stairwell and behind it right into our new design center. We're bringing the design center down from the upper floor to the ground floor and provide a tremendous opportunity to grow that program that has become so instrumental to our school and really embodying that design process that's now at the foundation of everything that we do. This is that design center. After you go through that stairwell and into the ground floor, you see the entrance to the design center. It's an expansive space that extends all the way down that side of the school. And it also opens up into an exterior courtyard. That's this next image. Or no, sorry, it's going to come up a bit later, but that's where design happens. And there's not just that one, but there's actually 4 connected rooms and open areas for project space along that whole side. Plus wide open spaces outside for lots of collaboration and opportunity for kids to work together and with others on the various projects. It's just got temporary equipment in there, and it won't necessarily look exactly like that. These are renderings, but you've seen our design center upstairs, and you can imagine that kind of type and style of equipment, but in a larger space with lots more collaborative rooms surrounding it.
I love the windows. I love that it just invites everyone to see what's going on, to be inspired. I think that really is a huge plus in this redesign.
And it's good that you say that, because you'll see as we go through all of these images, lots of glass. We have lots of glass in the building that maintains that kind of open and collaborative feel, and you'll see that consistently. We are connecting at the middle school and high school side and creating a new middle school entrance. And so we're really excited about that, and the fact that it will embellish sciences. We're connecting all of our science labs together to create a science core on the back side. And just, I'll throw it in really quickly. Yes, Amal Garzada, it is planned for us to have a new air handling system that will have cooling involved in it. That was one of the main issues that we've talked about over and over again, that we intend as part of the renovation, is to change our systems. And as you know, we're also starting early with our windows swap out so that we can gain the energy savings and the sustainability. And so it will have all of the necessary features of cooling and heating and everything that we'll need to refresh the building. And like I said, for the next 20 to 30 years, whatever the environment might throw at us. So yes, absolutely, that's all incorporated into the refresh and into the update. This becomes the middle school lobby, and just as if you look up to the right corner, you'll see an opening going up, and that goes up all the way to the 2 floors to capture the 2 new science labs that will connect this science corridor. And as it would happen, we also have a picture of that science lab on the 2nd floor, or floor 1, right, if you call it ground floor. And then if you look to the right, there's that same channel still going up, because there's one more science lab above this. And that will bring science cohesively to that corner as a zone for both middle school and high school. And we hope, as usual, some elementary shared space there as well.
Again, that wonderful view into learning and seeing kids actively engaged. I find that just such an incredible feature.
Yeah. We also will be inserting, where classrooms are right now, we'll be opening that up and creating what we call pods. And these pods will have collaborative space both inside and outside of the pods, plus lots of display space where students can interact with things. And it just gives us a sense of how we want to really weave higher degrees of collaboration into this whole setting. So these are drop-in pods, so that groups can drop in, and great things will be happening both outside with small groups of kids, as well as in the pod with different groups and different settings. One of the things we uncovered in our research process is the need for many more smaller collaborative spaces scattered throughout the school that would allow drop-in of various groups, whether it's an EAL group or a language group or a variety of project groups that are working on various things. That's what these pods are meant to service. And I think there's going to be probably 4 to 6 of them scattered throughout the school, kind of in between things, to create that opportunity. And again, lots of glass and lots of visibility into the learning process as it's ongoing. Here's another version of the pod in a different section of the building as an example of how they will all emerge within that collaborative context. Dining entrance, if you go to the back of the school right now, this would be our small parking lot in the back. And this is a way of introducing the fact that we are connecting the two buildings together. So the two buildings right now have the driveway in between them. We're going to close that and we're going to connect the buildings on both floors. On the bottom floor, it's all about expanding our cafeteria to provide more than enough space to have multiple activities going on at the same time and be able to feed larger groups of students of different ages, through different seating plans, so that we don't feel so cramped and crowded. It was one of the things in our surveys that was most often mentioned, that our cafeteria felt crowded and difficult to schedule. And so this will provide us an opportunity to really recraft the cafeteria and how we use it. It also includes a refresh of the kitchen so that there's better utility there, as well as serving areas and the flow of population. And currently in the plans, a demonstration kitchen at one end that will allow us to have collaborative classroom activities, cooking exhibitions, areas to prepare things in an educational setting that's incorporated right into the cafeteria. I think it will also provide lots of opportunity for us to use that for various events and gatherings that we have together, and really create a marvelous environment for that place that we think of as the heart of the school. So it's really a wonderful space. And I think that's the picture of it. So you can see how it extends much further down to the annex building, and really opens up and gives us lots of opportunity for different seating plans, and different ways of meeting the needs of both elementary as well as upper school students, and lots of bright freedom of choice with lots of good lighting and a very clean and effective look to it. So we're excited about that. That one's coming together. That's the misplaced slide about the design center exteriors. So that design center I showed you earlier extends out to the middle school courtyard, and has a partial glass enclosure that you can see the massiveness of that design space from this vantage point. Plus, it extends outdoor, because one of the things that design has always asked for is some outdoor space for doing some of their projects. So we've got a canopy covered space that will be an extension of design on one portion of this courtyard, that will give them a space for projects and things that they can do outside when the project calls for it. And again, there's many things that they're working on constantly that would be enhanced by being in an outdoor space while they're working on it. We pop over to elementary school, and our garden area is retained. It's a key focus area of our school, but what we add to it right in the left corner there is an early childhood library. And so we have a library that will have sliding glass doors that will open up into the garden, that allow us to connect those two spaces together and utilize those for interacting between a library space and our really busy and productive and capable garden. And we'll enhance the garden at the same time, and give it more infrastructure to support all of the wonderful things that they're doing out there. And of course, that extends out to the rest of the school site. So there's still things on the plan for our composting and for our other gardens throughout the school. The greening of the school will continue in earnest as part of this overall facility master plan. And those elements of the site plan are all capitalized on as well. Just to give you a sense of what the central offices look like pushing out to the front, everything is set up for us to have welcoming office spaces in order to do the work of the school. Admissions will be in one segment of this office area, but we'll also have other key offices for the central offices, staff, business, HR, communications, able to collaborate more cohesively because they'll all be in very close proximity to each other. And again, what we're gaining from that is we're pulling them out of the central core so that we can capitalize on that central core for others. If we go back to that extension out into the annex on the next floor up. You'll see teaching and learning space. This is kind of Melissa's area that she's going to master and work with adults, but it'll also be used by students as, again, collaborative drop-in spaces, larger presentation spaces, teacher collaborative spaces. But if you look way down this hallway, you'll see that it extends quite a bit beyond there. This is actually the area where the current design center is. So we're going to open all of this up and rethink this whole area. But if you go way down that hallway and you continue down, you get here. And this is the open area that will extend across from the main building to the annex. To the right of this is a redesigned library that will have a glass wall enclosing it. But outside of the library is this massive collaboration space where students and others can spill out, create group settings, small and large, and really connect with that space as a central core to the school. And so lots of opportunity here to really spread out, utilize space, and have lots of opportunity for different groups to meet and work together and develop things, bring it out of the library into this space or keep it in the library, but really have a library that's about 20% larger, I think, than it currently is along that side, with lots of natural light and all glass facing out to that northern exposure. This is a bigger project. I love the way this render has come together, but we are putting a glass roof on the elementary courtyard down along the second grade hall, and I think it's first grade on the other side. I mean, this is our really large project. We're creating different entrances here, but we're really creating a covered collaborative space with pods. We're bringing the tower down and creating a space above, but we're just creating this wonderful, expansive, collaborative space for elementary. And there'll be stairwells and balconies then coming down into this space from the floor above, and it will become the centerpiece of the elementary, and a place that we think now in this near final design will be an absolute center to the ebb and flow of all learning activities in the elementary. And it includes bringing art and music around the edge of this so that they can spill out into this space, and impromptu presentations and performances, art projects going on. Just a wonderful space to really look at integrating. And just to the right, through open areas, will be the design center. So access to the design center and design materials is optimized by this location as well, so that we have this amazing openness between elementary and upper through this area. This is the tower at the glass roof level looking down into the courtyard. So you can see this collaborative space that'll be accessed from that second floor area right near the stairwell, and allow again for this wonderful opportunity. And there's a stair on the side of this that goes down into the courtyard, really integrating the two spaces. What we've got in play this year is quite marvelous in so many ways, and we're watching it and learning from it and getting used to this idea. But we did a teacher collaboration room by doing some schedule optimization and then creating a space so that teachers could connect and work together in a collaborative space. And this is essentially a template for additional spaces like this that we'll create throughout the school in order to bring that collaboration and cohesion together, and also allow us to optimize utilization of classrooms at the same time. So there's a trade-off in that teachers won't have personal spaces in classrooms, but they'll actually share in some cases, and we'll optimize the scheduling for the utilization of classrooms by providing for these collaborative and drop-in spaces to allow that ongoing energy to continue there. And similarly, for student collaboration spaces, we have some that we've been experimenting with over the last year or so with different types and kinds of furniture. But this new one outside of the PTO store and the furniture that we've put in there and how we keep changing it up a little bit and seeing how kids use it and utilize it and how it creates a hub of activity and conversation and work. I happened on a group today. I would have loved to have seen them in this space, but they were busily reviewing for their chemistry exam today, and they were talking about protons and neutrons and pluses and minuses. But it was a group of about 10 kids that were all together, each sharing their knowledge about that. So we like to see those conversations in these kinds of spaces, and we know they're happening every day, that it's not just about social things, but they're actually digesting and really making their learning real as they talk and help each other to understand things. So it's really powerful to see how these collaboration spaces, both up in the upper school and here in front of the PTO store, are really giving us an opportunity to see how this works in real practice. The actual implementation of this site plan would suggest that these kinds of spaces would be scattered throughout the school, that they be in many different places throughout the school. But it really brings to fruition how important it is for kids to be comfortable in a space, to really engage in whatever it is that they're working on. And we see that come to fruition every day. All right, that is the plan. Now, there was a question about timing and finish. We don't know the full plan yet, but it was always planned as about a 3 to 5 year process, using our summers for the significant work that has to be done in this. We will maintain operation of the school during this time of construction, but it will mean that, and I'll just plant this seed now, I've done a lot of these projects over the years, so it does mean some frustration while we're going through this. For some of the long-standing people here, you'll remember the frustrations you probably experienced while the annex was being built in 2012, and some of the things that had to be rerouted or closed off while finishing work was being done. The bottom line is it can be done. The phasing suggests that we can do the bulk of the more difficult work during the summer vacations, and that we can cordon off or separate areas that need finishing work while we're continuing operation. Plus, the PSI Container Village provides us opportunity to have temporary spaces that we can utilize while phases of this project are ongoing. I also want to quickly hasten to mention that we're pushing forward sustainability projects. And so we're actually going to kick off some things right away. And most specifically, the windows project is kicking off immediately. We've got 2 prototype windows that were put in place. We've used those to make our selection of vendor, and we're in the process now of finalizing those agreements so that we can kick off almost immediately installation of windows. Those don't require as much time or don't have as much implication to the classrooms that they're affecting. And we prove that through the prototype installation. But we want to seal the building and give it a better energy footprint, energy conservation footprint in very short order. And that's really nice. All right, I got a few comments here, so I just throw this up and say, yes, this is so exciting. What wonderful collaborative spaces. And we've got amazing spaces for student learning.
It's great.
And some comments about in faculty collaboration. Well, we had a similar setup in New York where faculty had a collaborative offices and then flexible classrooms. There is a question here. Any plans for solar or wind energy? Solar is in the parking lot. If you think back to the picture I showed at the very beginning, you might not have noticed that on the left side, we're putting cover over the parking spots. And those will be solar panels. We will also be doing solar on the roof, but we're going to be more limited as we integrate with the air handling system. And so it depends upon how we integrate that, but there'll be a bit of both. And that will also, by the way, in the site planning, will be electric car charging stations provided in the parking lot as we reconfigure the parking lot. We're also expanding bicycle parking too, and that'll also have coverings over it, and those will be solar enabled as well. So we're trying to really eke out the best we can from our footprint. Also, the HVAC handling, while it will have heating and cooling, it will be energy efficient heating and cooling so that we can make sure that we're being planet friendly in our planning. All of this goes on a spreadsheet, and we are going to be, we're going to be a positive impact on changing our usability footprint, if you will, or our energy footprint. We're going to be reducing it so that we're being more carbon sensitive as a school, consistent with our core values and our goals and our guidelines. Let's see. And another great news there. So thank you for the feedback. We appreciate that. All right. Melissa probably gives me a chance to rest my voice a little bit, because this is a little bit more your area. This is Learning Lab Teaching School. Why don't you give us a sense of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really exciting strategic area, because at the heart of it is really ensuring that we are engaging our kids in the most up-to-date best practice possible, that we're leading that charge in terms of just the role we play as a school alongside of our international school colleagues and neighbors. And so with that, really, this idea of creating a culture where training, coaching, and mentoring inside our school, that collegial support and work actually is meant to enhance learning and be a catalyst for that continual improvement that we're committed to. And so it has been phrased with this notion of being a learning lab, because it really is a place where we can invite others to take a look at what we're doing. It's a place where within the school we can look and share across classrooms, across the various elementary, middle, and high school sections, and really get that sense of how do we grow, because we have opened the doors to best practice and we can inspire and support each other. Last year, there were a few different opportunities that got this in action. And one of those was the idea of a coaching symposium and starting to build a network of coaches. We're very, very lucky at ASW. We do have a variety of positions that are dedicated to coaching teachers within technology, across pedagogical instructional methodologies. And so this was really more about creating a structure. There is another great opportunity that started last year, and that was the Peer Learning Lab. Peer Learning Lab can take on a variety of different forms, but it's where teachers have the opportunity to really step outside of their classrooms, step into each other's classrooms, and again, learn from each other, really honing in on best practice, fine-tuning practice, and also expanding and extending it. There was an opportunity to also collect that so that it remains as part of a library. Again, this is very much about inspiring teachers and continuing to grow that high quality best practice. As we move into this year, there is a continuation of many of those practices. At the heart, though, we're really looking at what we're calling developing a coaching culture. So that really goes beyond this idea that, yeah, we're lucky, we have some coaches in school that support teachers, but it actually is putting us into the position where each and every one of us has this collegial spirit where we're influencing each other, we are inspiring each other, and everybody has a skill set to be able to do that. So you'll see here within this particular plan project area that, again, we're going to be growing this notion of the peer learning labs. We have already started to put into place an opportunity for our curriculum leadership team, so our coaches and our coordinators. We are going to partake starting next week in going into every classroom, learning about learning, and using that not through any kind of supervisory or evaluative approach, but using it to really celebrate the great things that are going on and to build upon them. So that's going on. Just today, actually, our coaches and coordinators Today
Mhm.
we met, and that's a group of about 16 people. And one of the things we talked about is the idea of this underground coaching society, which started out last year as, again, this idea of coaches coming together and making it fun and interesting and bringing teachers in. And we talked today about how we're going to continue to increase the scope of that. That this idea through this hypothesis noting is really when we develop our expertise, it is increased because of professional learning opportunities. We know that learning is social. And so
Yeah,
it's really taking advantage of this idea that we learn from each other, we're inspired from each other.
yeah.
John, if you go to the next slide.
Let me just say one thing. I mean, one of the things that's really powerful about this, and it's an underlying concept, is just how talented our teachers are. And this is a recognition of that some of our best PD is what we develop in-house, what we capitalize on in terms of the talented and capable people that we recruit and that have built their skills while in this environment. And there's so much that can be shared here through this process of inculcating that coaching culture that you're talking about. But at its core, it's about validating that we have so much skill and capability and knowledge amongst the people that are here on the ground right in front of us, and that we can use that better to all become better together and really capitalize on that collaboration element as well.
Yeah, it's such a critical aspect to this specific strategic area. Just to kind of zoom in and simplify the work, these are really our overarching priorities this year, and these will lean into the next few years. And that is about continuing to build the systems and the structures that support this, that enhance the way our teachers communicate, collaborate, and work together to continually grow their practice. As I've noted, creating that coaching culture within and of itself asks us to think about shifts and structures and what we're doing and how we build that collective spirit. And then also, just even based on that idea that within our own school, there is such a wonderful sense of high quality and expertise, how do we reach out and provide an opportunity to collaborate with other schools, with other colleagues around the world? How do we invite them in? How do we help to inspire and just kind of develop that sense of being a lighthouse school? And that is something that I think that all of our community members who've been engaged in this strategic area just feel really strongly about, that we can do that and we can continue to grow by offering that light. So all of that, again, I do want to just point out, this sits on our definition of learning. And that is, I think, really critical because that is at the core of teaching and learning. And we really believe that learning is knowing about where our learners were, where they have come to, and where they're planning on moving to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the littlest learner up to our adult learners. And so this has really been built around that very, very key statement.
And it's so fundamental to really understand that holistic nature and how that all connects together. And so building these collaborations really wrap a blanket around the whole thing.
Yeah. We're about learning. And so this one really allows us to constantly be looking at learning and digging deeply into what it means and how we're constantly enhancing that for all of our community.
Absolutely. This next one dovetails off of that and gets us into how we're growing our use of data. They really go hand in hand in so many ways. One is more about the collaboration and the instructional practice, but this is about how we understand the results of our instruction and how we use that to leverage the next best result of instruction. So let's talk about data and inquiry in the context of our strategic work.
Absolutely. And I think I would add to this that there's a real science and a real art to this specific strategic area. And teachers have always looked at learning and made decisions about it. That's what we do. That comes with the job. But the scientific aspect is really about looking at it through an analytical lens with a commitment to action, and through a collective, collaborative process, we know that we can actually extend learning and grow it in different ways that are much more meaningful. And so, what we are doing in this particular area is starting to put together opportunities for our teachers to look at quantitative data. We are also looking at the qualitative data and looking at that through the lens of actual student learning in our hands. And we
Mhm.
do that with something called a protocol.
Right.
These protocols are systematic ways of coming together, looking at whatever the learning type is in front of us, doing so in a way that's very, very efficient and gets straight to the heart of what the learning is telling us, so that we can offer appropriate feedback to our students, or change our instructional methodologies, or actually revamp any kind of unit of inquiry that the kids have been engaging in. We just really get a sense of what we need to do as educators. So we've been working on supporting our teachers in developing those processes so that they're consistent across the
Mhm.
whole school, and also working at how we're defining data, so that
Mhm.
isn't just looking at numbers, which is something when we see that word, we can automatically
Right.
think that is what it is, but it's looking at gathering whatever the patterns and trends our students are showing us. That could be around behavior, it could be around well-being, it can be around their academic success, and coming together to talk deeply about what does this mean that they need, and what then do we put in place to be able to support them.
Absolutely. And it's also grounded in aspects that reach across all four strategic areas, and that is understanding how we measure our accomplishment in each of the strategic areas. So the other thing that we're constantly looking at, and it's not here, but it's in the strategic planning document that you can access as parents online. Just go into the portal, hit on director, look to the right column, and you'll see the strategic planning and procedures. It talks about how we measure what it is that we're accomplishing, what it is that we're having an impact on, and what are the impacts for students or the impacts for families. And so it's percents of our population and percents of improvement. And so part of this process is designing the tools or implementing the tools that will help us to gather the information that we need to validate the work that we're doing and validate our accomplishment. And that's certainly a piece of this as well, is helping us to understand how data informs our work and guides us and keeps us in the guardrails and keeps us on the right playground, but continues to grow us and stretch us in the directions we need to go. All right, let's see. So
Yeah,
talk more about this.
yeah, and again, kind of pulling from the text that you saw on the last slide, we're really looking at three very specific priorities that we
Mhm.
are focusing our work on this year in terms of growing cohesion across the school, all linked to that definition of learning. And that includes the alignment of assessment practices. Again, that is looking at how we potentially design assessment, how we use assessment, how we provide feedback to students. So again, it belongs to them. They're empowered to make decisions.
Mhm.
It's looking at the variety of different data types that are available to us and engaging in that conversation. You know, you've heard tonight already, and we're only on the second strategic area, that collaboration is so key to our work. We know that it actually makes a difference in next steps, in understanding deeply what
Mhm.
our kids are doing. And therefore, as a result, what we're learning is that when teachers sit around any kind of student work, there is great discussion that leads to action.
Yep.
And yep, engaging in, again, those systems like the protocols that become just the way we work when we are gathering together.
Excellent.
I think we have a
Got
couple examples. Oh, yeah, good, good.
I've got some general questions. How may I ask them? Please, for all the viewers out there, just pop them into the comment channel if you're on a channel where you can ask them. That's only on YouTube and Facebook where you can do that. Beyond that, feel free to reach out to us by email, director@aswarsaw.org. And we'll be happy to push answers back to you if you don't have a direct. But I see this user, you're on Facebook, so feel free to keep posting your questions in the chain. I won't necessarily ask them right away. I'll find breaks in our talking here to get to them. So I'm monitoring them, and I will come back and answer them in due course, including Malgorzata. I got your questions there in the queue, and I'll get back to it here in just a minute. But yeah, please push them in here or reach out to us here at school. You know, we're always available to parents, my office, Melissa's office. There's always people here happy to answer both general and more specific questions. Okay. So there you go.
Yeah, just a couple of examples, to bring the text to life for you, and kind of bring you into what's been happening thus far in terms of this specific strategic area. We have, as a leadership team, been engaging in the same processes that we are helping our teachers make a habit, and using the same protocols that I've noted, so that we are also engaging in a process that allows us to go deeper into learning and have a greater understanding of what learning looks like across our school. During our early October PD Day, our teachers, this was the first time, actually, all of them from grade 3 to grade 12 sat around our MAP data. And that was very exciting. MAP is an external measure. It is only one of the stars in the constellation of learning for each of our students, but it was timely, and it offered our teachers an opportunity to really look deeply at it and have some great deep discussions, and also walk away with some actions. I think you can move on to the next one.
Okay.
Our teachers are, again, this is part of this collaborative, deep discussion. They are putting together ways of tracking learning in terms of, our specific progress areas. And by doing that, they're able to zoom in and say, okay, what are we doing? How do we create interventions or create engagement opportunities for kids who might be working within this band of proficiency, for example, or this band of development? And so these are just a couple of tools that our teachers are using as they really spend meaningful time creating the actions, the next step actions that are going to make a difference for our kids. And that's at any level. Those are students who are needing very specific need in order to reach the curriculum, as well as those who are moving forward at a pace that they're ready for their own next steps.
And parents, this is a unique opportunity, because you don't get this opportunity very often, to have this lens, this window into the work that we're doing when we have a PD day or when we have a late start Wednesday morning. That's where this work is happening. And you can see it's deep and thoughtful and connected work to creating the optimal learning environment for your kids. And creating that interaction between student and teacher that's driven not just by one professional, but groups of professionals that are constantly digesting and working with this way of deepening their insight into the learning process and the way in which education emerges in the classroom. And, just these two examples alone show all of the thinking and collaborating and connecting that's going on within those conversations. And parents don't often see that. They don't see that work that's going on in the background. They only see, what the kids share with them and their interaction with an individual teacher in many cases, but they don't see that background process that's constant and ongoing, that's digging and delving and developing on behalf of the kids that we all serve.
These are just a few other examples where we have different ways of approaching this work. And those other examples were about all of our teachers or grade level teams of teachers. One of the groups that we have really been working specifically to support is our like our PYP learning leaders, as well as our curriculum learning leaders in the upper school, and just engaging them and learning the skills and the strategies, especially, for example, the protocol, where now they go and work with their teachers and lead them to dig very deeply into asking about the data, what it means, what they need to do with that. And so this is all part of just the systematic approach that we've taken, and engaging all level of leadership in terms of growing the use of data to inquire about our kids' learning and support their learning story.
Yeah. Again, lots of depth, lots of intricacies, but lots of real thought in the way in which we structure this so that we get the most out of it. Well, let's talk about listen and engage and diversity, inclusion, and equity. This is, again, one that we've shared quite a bit over the last 18 months. We've done a lot of more internal work in 21-22 with researching and evaluating our mental health education. Our health curriculum is under review. We really expanded and trying to more deeply understand our definition of inclusion along different dimensions, and understanding that with the world, as the world really engages on diversity, inclusion, and equity in a very global context. And we see that playing out both in the corporate world as well as in government and education, certainly in the last, probably 5 to 10 years, if not longer. There's lots of deepening of our understanding that has gone on. We've had consultants help us in reviewing documents. The board has taken some critical steps in making sure that policies and key documents are aligned with this, and we're continuing to work on the more subsidiary documents in a kind of deliberate review process so that we can look at our messaging and the way in which we do things to make sure that we're up to speed. This is also connected to a critical area of accreditation. Accreditation agencies early came out with standards and expectations for this work to assure that we were creating a safe and welcoming space for students. It's long been an area of focus in the international community because of our diversity in the international schools. We always, here at ASW, it's 65 countries, and it's all the lines of diversity, not just ethnic. It's really every aspect of diversity is represented in this student body, and we want to make sure and grow our capability here. So staff did a lot of introspection, sprints associated with this, our ally group, student groups, opportunities for learning amongst the student body in a general context, while we've been doing the deeper work of looking at kind of curriculum and other aspects of the way in which we address this topic through all threads of the school. So that was 21-22, was really deepening staff understanding. That continues this year with professional development that's aimed at getting to a large majority of our staff, that give them just foundational concepts and insights while we're reviewing and getting more insight into the curricular aspects that are woven through our school and through our learning activities. This is a longer project list because we put a lot of focus on trying to identify last year through that learning what the next best steps are to really get us on the right path. The policy and governance is simply that piece I was saying about the documents and the updates and the direct link between inclusion and DEIJ work. Really connect this with our accreditation process, which, as you know, we're fully engaged in right now. And we have the new ASW diversity and action policy ready to be implemented more effectively and consistently throughout the schools. So we're striving to do that as well. We're going to continue to increase faculty and staff knowledge about diversity and the work here, as well as the work around the world. Improve skills and understanding inclusive language and practices. That'll have implications for that coaching dynamic, where we have lots of people who are very capable in this realm and can serve as coaches and peer mentors in developing that process. The resources that we have associated with this would expand and continue to develop. The messaging through admissions, recruitment, and marketing, those subsidiary documents reviewed. Translatable language. This is also about language diversity, right? And so we want to also address the many languages that come to our community and how we serve that through tools that we imply on our website and that we implement over time. And then wellness is also incorporated into this because we think that when people are focused on wellness, they're better able to be engaged in the learning environment. I know that seems like a stretch for this inclusion area, but part of inclusion is making sure that once we're here, we're also cared for in the context of school so that we're well and capable in the context of school. Essentially, the hypothesis is the clarity, though. We believe that feeling safe, seen, heard, and valued is essential to learning. That first line says it all about what the area we play in is for this strategic area and how we continue to work in this area as a school to get better and better.
If there's a word that I would pull out that really, really emphasizes the purpose of this strategic area, it's belonging. At the heart of it, it is that we are a family. We are the ASW family, and everyone belongs. And so that really, really is the heart to ensure that that is the case.
Yeah. And it also connects back to a core value, which is, we do all this together, and without us all, we're nothing. And that was written by a student who wanted to really communicate how important it was to not exclude, to not leave anybody out, to not leave anyone behind when we create a place called school and when we serve the needs of our friends and our collaborators.
And this is really, again, just to give you a little bit of a visual to add to what we're sharing. This is just a quick example of the training that's going on this year. And we are ensuring, as John noted, that all of our faculty and staff and the board also will be engaging in this training being offered by an organization called CMA. And it has been going on now since our new teachers arrived, actually, and engaged in the first sessions. There are 3 of them that everyone will be part of. And they've just been going on each week over the last few months. And this is an example of our 2 trainers who come in and really have created a great opportunity for everyone involved to just engage in the work, to learn a few things, and to spend some time also in reflection mode and connection mode in terms of what does this allow us to do in terms of supporting our students and their learning.
And it really does allow us to connect across all boundaries. It really gives us a common language that we can all now access by having this foundational training that everyone has, or 90% of us have participated in across all boundaries of the school community to really get that core understanding that will propel us forward. We can amplify that and really have a cohesive approach to what it is we're hoping to accomplish as we become better and better as a school.
Yeah.
And we can announce that we've got a group that's coming together. We've been busy recruiting and establishing, and their first meeting is November 10th. It includes a mix of parents, students, similar to our core values group some years ago. It consists of administration, support staff, faculty, representatives from the board, and importantly, students, to really look at what we're doing, what we plan to do, and give us feedback as a focus group and help us to design the next year of work that comes in 23-24. As we continue the work that we've already planned for this year, we want that important multi-stakeholder lens. And we also hope that some of what this committee does will come forward to you as a community, all of you out there as a community, through town halls, through face-to-face meetings in the theater, town halls, when we're all together in real life. And so we're really looking at this committee to help guide us in creating those opportunities for expanding the conversation across all stakeholder lines.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's tomorrow.
And it's tomorrow.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that.
Okay, so before I go to my last couple of slides, Melissa, final comments, thoughts about strategic work and how maybe we're collaborating and what you're seeing on the horizon.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to note is that we're doing the right work. That what bubbled up over the last few years as part of the various teams and committees in engaging in sprints and design opportunities, it really brought to us what is really important and critical to our learners now and in the future. And I think if there is anything to celebrate, it is the way teachers have continued to lean into this work, the role they're playing in being open and connected, and really, really putting some of these, the various bullets that you've seen tonight into action. It's very exciting. It takes a village. And it takes a village to make strategic work turn into the kind of operationalized day-to-day work that is just the way we do business. It's the way we engage our kids and our community in teaching and learning. And I think that's really the power of these 4 strategic areas. And I feel very, very lucky to be part of this work. I think it's exciting. It's inspiring. And again, I say it's the right work. So
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is, you just in a nutshell describe that operationalized process when it becomes part of just the way we do business. And that's the truest iteration of strategic work, is when it becomes that. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of energy, it takes some letting go of things, it takes some experimentation and trying out new things. But at the end, when it becomes part of the way we do business, it's so powerful and so reinforcing of this work.
Yeah.
There was one question about architects. Somebody asked, where is it? There it is. Who is the architect of the project? So I should have put this in as a slide, but I found it really quickly to put it up on the screen. So it's actually 3 organizations that bid on this project at its early stages collaboratively. So we've got Anatol Kaczynski and AASC. That's the principal. He's coordinating here in Warsaw. He also has had a long relationship with the school, so it was nice to see their contributions on the table as we were going through the bid process. But he brought in 2 additional organizations, DMZ Planners, Donna Zalecki, who worked with us on the community engagement part of the process and the review process, to really look at it through the vision and educational lens as they were assessing what we had, which was a precursor to determining what we needed and where we wanted to go. And then the real design madness behind this is Michael Sherbati and MDSA, who has been the principal architect and has been helping us to really do the design work, the glass, the lines, the way in which things fit together, the pods, the hallway areas. There's much more detail than I was able to share with you all tonight. You can see a little taste of it here, all the detailed plans that have come together into this. But I really have to do a positive shout out to our team here and how they've taken us every step of the way, right to the point where just within the last couple of weeks, building permits were received. So we've got permission and the green light to move forward. And now it's all about contractor selection and bidding and board final decision on the phasing and the actual scope of construction in each year for the next 2 to 3 years, as I said earlier. So really, really important to be able to throw that out and say, wonderful group to work with. And I see them weekly, and as we work out the details and the final bits, but it's been a powerful experience for all who have been involved. The parent, student, and other involvement was earlier in the process. We've moved into a far more detailed, deep work on this right now that's more in facility and maintenance Shout out to Jim Young out there for his shepherding this project every step of the way, and the amazing work that's being done to get us ready to refresh this school for the next couple of decades. So hopefully that answers that question. We have a few other things to go through, and Melissa, you can stay with me and jump in where it's appropriate. We've got lots of things on tap until we're next together for Town Hall. So we've got new and aspiring board member training tomorrow. If you saw e-notes tonight, you can still sign up for that if you do it quickly tonight, and we'll be prepared for you tomorrow. It's via Zoom, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home. And it's my opportunity to train members of the community in the deeper aspects of governance, particularly for those who may be thinking about joining our board of directors in the future, but not necessarily. This training is aimed at helping you to be ready for any nonprofit board or leadership organization. And so please know it has universal application as I go through the concepts that drive our own board and the way in which they do business on a day-to-day basis. And you got a taste of that in Kay's letter today. The fall letter, really talking about what we're doing and what we're hoping to accomplish. And there are many references in that letter to strategic work that you heard about tonight. We've got Poland Independence Day on Friday, so no school Friday, and hopefully all will enjoy the long weekend. Next week, we finish up the athletics season for middle school and high school with end of season celebrations. The PTO Polish language group on the 15th, 22nd, and 29th, all at 9 o'clock in the cafeteria. Please join them. The English language group only has two because one of them falls on Thanksgiving, and so they won't be together. So 17th and the 1st of December. On November 17th, we've got an ES Polish literacy development. This is a session that's already been presented for English-speaking parents, but this time it's going to be presented in Polish. So it'll actually be in Polish for this conversation. We also have an ES Parent Workshop, the Learner Profile and International Mindedness on the 18th. Grade 2's Spotlight Assembly is coming up. Go Grade 2, looking forward to that. PTO Book Club on the 21st. We have our board meeting also on the 21st at 6 p.m. It'll be televised as well as face-to-face if you want to join us in the MPR. There is opportunity in the middle, as you know, for public comments. So if anything you saw tonight has inspired you to share your thoughts, there is an open opportunity in the board meeting to do that. Please know that you are welcome. It's not really a back and forth, but it is absolutely an opportunity for you to share with board members your thoughts and feelings about any aspect of school operation and the experiences that you're having here. On the 22nd, we get into the performance season with our first, the middle school, high school choir concert and visual arts exhibition on the 22nd, right before we go off to Thanksgiving. On the 23rd, we also have an ES Parent Workshop on positive parenting, 9:45 in the Tower. As you know, Thanksgiving is the U.S. holiday that we take off at the school. That's the 24th, 25th for another long weekend. And our next town hall will be November 30th. And then after that, I include this date after the town hall only to give you a heads up so you can pencil it in on your calendar. Our first Friday family dinners at ASW is coming up on December 9th. And so we've got a lot of tentativeness here. We're still working out a lot of the details. And you saw it mentioned in Kay's letter today, but we're really excited about this new initiative where we create an opportunity for families to come in, eat together at a family table, have some things presented to them, some music shared with them, and really have a family-oriented time here at school in our cafeteria with guest chefs and unique family-style meals served at a table for you and your family, or a couple of families that may want to get together at a table. There'll be lots of opportunity for that. More details coming, but just wanted to put a placeholder for Friday, December 9th. There will be limited space available, so it'll be first come, first serve on sign up. And we'll be doing this partially as a fundraiser for ASW for Ukraine. So you'll see that in the details when they come out. So please put that on your calendar and save the date for us. All right,
Listen,
we're off to continue the
I have
week.
a
Go
quick
ahead.
shout out. I have a quick shout out.
Shoot.
You highlighted next week's athletic celebrations, and I just want to shout out that we've got some teams that left today, some teams
As
leaving
well. Thank
tomorrow.
you.
We've got our athletes are out and about engaging after a weekend we had them out last weekend as well, different sports teams, but very exciting times for them as they start to close the season.
Absolutely. And this is the big CISA stuff that's coming back on the table. So it's exciting. One team has arrived in their destination already, as I was hearing this afternoon. So, and many others are traveling tomorrow, leaving either midday or later in the afternoon. So good luck to all our teams out there.
Right. Go Warriors.
Go Warriors. All right. Thank you all for having a wonderful evening with us. And thank you for sticking with us, all 24 of you right now. Remember, your challenge is share the video link with at least 5 people and encourage them to watch. This is the placeholder. So now whenever you ask me a question about strategic work, the answer you're going to get is the link to this video. And so they'll help you to understand the context of what it is we're doing and how the work at ASW never stops. It's all about
again, if you have questions about anything presented, anything as it relates to the programming, to the work that's going on, please reach out. We're here for you to provide clarity. Really exciting.
And thank you, Adam, for the praise. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful night. And again, thank you for giving up this time to join us. We have appreciated your presence and attention.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Take good care.